You are listening to the Model Train Talk podcast. Each episode, RJ and I discuss various topics about the world's greatest hobby, model trains. The purpose of this podcast is to help promote, inspire, and bring a breath of fresh air to the hobby. Recording the podcast makes it possible to share stories of others and to help grow the model train community. Thank you for listening to the Model Train Talk podcast. Welcome back to another episode of the Model Train Talk podcast. Here we have two reoccurring guests and a new guest. We have Blake, Sid, and Matt, and me and RJ are co-hosts. And today we're just going to talk with these guys about trains. The world is kind of in chaos right now, so it's good to just kind of rewind and come back and just talk about what we love, which is trains. So welcome, guys. How are y'all doing today?
Pretty good.
Good. Great. Glad to hear it. So last time we had Sid and Matt on the podcast and we talked about their projects. Now I know Matt and Blake are really good friends and they have been working on some projects as well. Do you kind of want to give us an update, kind of what's going on with those and kind of what do you got going on now?
So since the last time I was here on the podcast, as you guys know, I've been heavily focused on a Disney related project. Since I last was on here, I have now made 3 additional cars. I have them with me here today, and I'll showcase them. I got to tell you, doing Disney trains, the possibility is endless because of Disney's imagination and creativity. You really can just emulate that into any scale. So here I have a couple. I'll show you the first ones, and then I have a 4th car that's under production. It should be done within the next few weeks. I haven't mentioned it on my Instagram yet, so this is the first time I'm really talking about it. So it's going to be pretty cool to get to that. But the first car I've been doing here is this really long, this is basically Walt Disney's fire department. So if you guys go to Magic Kingdom, you'll see the old-time cars going up and down Main Street, USA. So this here is actually a model that you can purchase. Disney made a lot of die-cast related cars a few years ago. So if you look on the hood here, it's got the Walt Disney logo on there, which is neat. And then I put a few other things on here. So I have the Firehouse 5, which is, if you don't know what that is from the animator Ward Kimball, who was a huge train guy, probably the biggest train guy ever. The guy had everything in multiple scales. He had a real locomotive in his backyard. He had a real steam train. He got Disney so heavily involved in trains. So that's kind of an homage to him and the fire department, because he had a band called the Firehouse 5, and they used to make a lot of music and have a few albums. If you like old-timey music, I recommend listening to them. But side note, there's that. So I added a lot of cool details on here. So if you look on the flatbed, I have some of the wood planks here that keep the car in place. And then I put a few chains on there and everything. And then I have this little water canister here with the band logo on there. And the cars itself is from Menards. So I've been starting to buy some of their products recently. And the flatbed itself is really nicely done. It's got a cool wood deck on there. So that was the first car I did. It got a little simple. Then I got very chaotic. The last car I'm showing you guys is probably my passion project I've been doing the last few weeks. But Blake's going to like this one. I did a Herbie the Love Bug car.
Yes.
So we have
great
here,
movie.
Yeah. So we have Herbie in O scale here. Beautiful model, complete one-to-one replica of him, which is great. And like I said before, with creativity with Disney, you can do anything. So we literally have, I made the whole idea of this car like he's going to his next motor rally. So we have literally his garage going with him. So you have some air pumps here, you have toolboxes and a lot of air compressors and stuff like that. And it's hard to see on camera, but I made a little mistake on the car itself. I had some glue on here and it kind of dried on the thing. But since it's black on black, it kind of looks like it's oil. It makes it look like there's oil leaking on the car, like he just got out of a repair shop. So it's a very fun little car. Again, I did the same thing. I did the wood planks and everything and the chains. And then the last car I got here is, like I said, my passion project. So we have here, from my favorite Disney movie ever, I did 101 Dalmatians car. So we have the infamous Cruella de Vil car that I got recently 3D printed off of Shapeways. Me and a designer, we went back and forth and how were we going to bring this car to O scale. So this is a 1/43rd scale replica of the car, and then I spent a few weeks. This is an old car. I finished it a while back, but I did a lot of the painting. This was painstaking work to get it just right. And then the car itself, I like to think in the mind of the villain. And Cruella, she's a glamorous woman, and she likes to have, the finer things in life. So if she's transporting her car by rail, I would like to think she wants her car to match. So the flatbed's painted just like her car itself. And then you have where the stakes are, brass fittings, because if you look here, the car has her famous horn, like the rope twined horn. And that's the other cool thing. The car's got a lot of separate fitted details for one print, which is really cool. And then I was able to get some Artista minifigures of the Dalmatians. I couldn't put all 101 on here, guys. I couldn't do that. That was not happening. But I was able to get a few little ones on here. And then on the crate here, if you guys remember from the movie, they advertised the brand Canine Crunchies. So I thought, okay, I'll put a little freight on here too to do that. And like I said, this has been a very fun project. The last car I have, I can't really show it now because it's a little bit in pieces, but I am doing a Star Wars car. So I have, if you guys know Star Wars lore, I have the AT-ST Walker from Endor that's in O scale, of all things. And it's going to be really elaborate. Going to put some stormtroopers guarding it. It's going to be probably the wackiest car you ever see in O-Gauge, but it's going to be so cool going down the rails. But that's pretty much where I'm at right now with a lot of projects going on. So
that'll be awesome. That'll be great to see. So one of my questions personally is, so where do you find the supplies? How do you do you create like the car models? Do you find them online? Kind of how do you build your cars?
It's a mix of everything, really. Like I told you guys when I was first on this podcast, I mentioned how it's just a lot of things I have lying around my house. So, a lot of trips to the arts and crafts store like Michael's or AC Moore, things like that. Some of it was leftover things I've had from previous projects, and the paint was the hardest thing to get. That the paint was really difficult because the car, it's an animated movie, so they use a very distinct color. So Blake helped me find probably the best match possible. So a few trips to the arts and crafts store here and there, and the models, like I said, 1/43rd is the correct scale. Like if you're doing O-Gauge cars, 1/43rd is O scale. So it's a matter of going on eBay, finding the right cars and stuff like that. So it all depends. But yeah, it's very elaborate. A lot of eBay searching for certain things, because I can show you guys here real quick if I can just angle my camera. There's the AT-ST from Star Wars, completely in O scale. I weathered it and everything. So it's a lot of kit bashing. It's a lot of elaborate stuff. So it's a matter of just what you find.
Sounds good. Looks good. We will link all of the social media pages in the description. So if the viewers want to find out more, they can go to his Instagram page. Now, Blake, I know you do some kit bashing and some projects of your own as well. Would you like to share those as well and the progress that's going on with those?
Sure. I don't have the train with me, but I could run and go grab it.
No, it's fine. I mean, you can do that, or if you just want to describe it to us, that works too.
I got a photo of what I'm working on right now.
We could even throw up that photo on the screen.
If you want to send it, if you want to send it to us, we can put it and we can edit it.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody follows me on Instagram. My Instagram name is Otaku Rail Fan. Only started a couple months ago. I've been working on a anime train. It's literally a big boy locomotive and a couple passenger cars. And the anime is called Galaxy Railways. Old anime from like 2003. Literally, the anime is about trains that fly through space and all that. It's very, mystical fantasy type stuff, but I'm into stuff like that. The locomotive from the show is literally a big boy locomotive with some modifications towards the front, and it flies through space. So I started that project, I have to say, about maybe last year. I bought the locomotive. I only finished it during the pandemic because I was stuck at home. And then I recently started passenger cars. They're just repainted Lionel Madison cars. They're not done yet. I still got to put lights in them. The other car I'm working on, this one's requires heavy kit bashing. I don't have it with me. It's drying outside. I sprayed some primer on it. It's literally a railgun car. It's got turrets and everything on it. It looks really cool. Not based on anything, but I'm basing it on what's seen in the anime. So those pictures are up on my Instagram. It's looking really cool. I should be done with it really soon.
So now do you, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
But it's funny. I bring the train to my club and they just they turn their heads. They don't know what it is. So once I explain to them, they're like, oh, only in Japan they'd have stuff like that. So that's what I've been working on lately.
So do you 3D print, or how do you build these things? What goes into it? I guess my first question is, what's your inspiration for these items? What makes you want to dedicate your time to doing these? And then second of all, how do you do it? Do you 3D model? Do you print? Do you paint? What do you do?
I to answer that, I'll do literally anything. I don't 3D print myself. I usually just buy the stuff online. But I have an example here, something that I kit bashed. Just to give an example. This is a ON30 Mogul from Bachmann. This was kit bashed by me. This started out as a Hawthorne Village Christmas train. I bought it really beat up. It was, in a antique shop. It was all broken. I painted it. Is this in the camera? The headlight is 3D printed. The smokestack is 3D printed. Cab has been modified to resemble like an earlier. The locomotive is based on a Cook 260 Mogul. How Bachmann sells them, it's like a 1930s appearance. I backdated it to like 1901, 1902. Because I prefer 19th century railroading more than anything. So this was a fun project I did. But that's an example of stuff I do. I'll take old trains like this that nobody would probably buy, and I'll just modify it.
Right. Yeah. That's great. It's a great way to kind of salvage some things as well. So I know that you and Matt have been good friends for a while. Have you done any projects where you guys work together, or any other members of your club? I know you're both in the same club as well.
The last thing we did together was he bought the red Walter E. the MTH 10-wheeler painted up as a. Oh, thank you. My twin brother just brought down my the big boy locomotive. If you guys want to see that. See how huge that is. I'm getting off topic, but my twin brother just.
No, you're good. You're good.
You can see.
I like to input real quick on that. This train is completely different than anything you would ever see. I've been following Blake with the project a lot, and this goes back to when me and him first started being friends years ago in middle school. He showed me the series, this anime that he's talking about, and the funny thing is, when I looked at it, I was like, the way he described it to me, I was like, no, you're lying to me. That doesn't exist. There is no show that has this. And the funny thing about the show that he didn't mention, the big boy locomotive in the show is called Big One. And the reason for that is, I won't go into very deep specifics, but long story short, the thing is disguised as a giant laser missile thing. Like the thing transforms like a transformer, and there's a giant gun in the boiler head. And the thing is like a space laser thing. It's something out of Star Wars. It's crazy. It's really cool for us train guys. But you can see what Blake did there. Like the thing has a headlight on the top of the big boy instead.
Yeah.
The smokestack's completely different. It's just nothing you've ever really seen a big boy look before. But it's such a distinguishing look that I just can't help but love it.
It's basically like a train that flies through space, like as Matt was saying. But I made an HO scale one many years ago, and it was a non-functioning model. And for years, I was telling Matt, I want to make one in O gauge. No. But when we went to York together last year, I found this locomotive there, and for a really decent price, I said, you know what, Matt? I'm going to buy that. It's time to make Big One. So
there you go. So now that you've you've created this model. Now you need to send it to Sid, and then he's gonna put all the sounds that you want in it.
Oh, I already had that done actually.
Oh, you did. You did. Awesome.
It
You're one
started
step
out.
ahead of me. One step ahead of me
Yeah,
here.
it started
We're
out
trying
as
to get you business.
next I have a Crusader you could do for me.
We talked about that earlier.
Over the summer I had it upgraded to Proto Sound 3. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to take the sounds from the anime, the whistle and some dialogue from the anime, and I want to put it in the actual model. That's a whole process in itself. But
Definitely
back to what was the question you asked me earlier? I got off tangent.
I mean, what was your inspiration to do it? Like, what made you say I want to do this specific model?
Oh, well, number one, I'm an anime guy. I'm one of those people. And you know, anime and trains, that's something I like to see together. And I was like, the big boy locomotive is really cool. Well, I'm going to kick it up a notch. I want to copy the one that's seen in the anime. When I first brought it to club, everybody was just looking at me because they're like, what are you doing to this? What are you doing? And I explained to them and they'd be like, only in Japan they do that. So it definitely turns heads at my club.
And then following up on what Blake, your question about us collabing together, Blake and I have done Blake and I have done projects over the years that are off Instagram. Like I've done stuff for him. Blake is also into G Scale. I've done decals for him. I've done quite a few things. I've done some paint work for him. And then recently he's collabed with me on the Disney train, the Walter E. He did a lot of the paint work, which I happen to have the model here. So what he did, Blake did a few things for it. So number one, on the actual model, this is just molded in and not painted. It's just painted with the boiler.
Yeah, it's not painted.
He did a lot of the brass work that you see here. And then the running boards on the actual model, if you bought this new, is red. So he painted them black like on the real engine. And then he did a few other things, some decals that he did. So on the sand dome there, you have the Walt Disney logo, and then you have a number 1 on the opposite side. And then the cylinders on this, the drive rods on this engine were originally black, and he painted them silver to make it look more prototypical. But Blake and I have done it. It is a lot of fun to collab with other people and bring something together and make something unique. It's a really cool part of the hobby that I'm glad we're a part of.
The best thing is I've been to Disney World so many times, and I've been around the locomotives at Disney World. So I look at the model and be like, oh man, I got to change this, I got to change that, because I've seen the engines up close and personal, up close. So I'll be like, oh man, we could paint this. The real engine has this, it has that, and that would be like, okay, let's do it. The only thing I wasn't able to was the tender decals. My variation didn't come out very well.
Yeah, our friend of the podcast, O-Gauge Greg, is currently printing those up for me. I actually, after this show goes live, I'll be visiting him at the club and test fitting the final decals. So I will update you guys on that for sure.
Definitely. And talking about collabing, that I know that Sid and RJ have done some magic of their own, transforming the inside of some engines as well.
No, yeah. This is RJ's H1644, and before it was just a conventional locomotive, but it did have rail sounds in it. And he sent it to me, and I installed cruise control, hooked the rail sounds up, which I actually didn't know were going to work, but I made them work with the stock ones, and added a smoke unit, I was happy with that. Lots of the time, the smoke units on diesels, they don't go out of the stacks very evenly, but this one worked out really well. And actually, hold up a sec here.
It just blows my mind that he can do all this stuff. Yeah.
And when I was talking to Sid about it, he'd be like, "Oh, well, it's really quite simple. You just do this, this, and this."
Okay.
Electronics.
I can't do this, and don't tell me how easy it is, because then I could do it myself. So just tell me it's difficult, and I keep sending you stuff.
Then this is a tender from a Southern Mikado that RJ has now, and this is where all the magic happens on this engine. Literally has all the electronics in it other than the smoke unit and some lighting. And on the top here is a new coal load, and under that is the antenna, which was really cool. I was
So-
happy with that.
So a little for reference for everybody. If you go back and check out my Lionel 2020 Volume 2 catalog, I talked about the Southern 4501, which is up there, one of my all-time favorite steam locomotives. And I didn't feel like dishing out, $1,200 for a legacy steam locomotive, especially since I already had the New York Central 10-wheeler on pre-order. So Sid let me know of a used train store in the DC area, and I saw it sitting up on a shelf, and I asked the owners, what's that worth? And they said, it doesn't work. Don't worry, like, you don't even think about buying it. Anyways, it's the 1992 Lionel version, which is a tooling made by MTH back in the day when MTH did toolings for Lionel before MTH really got going. And to this day, it's still the most accurate tooling and depiction of the Southern 4501. They used the actual blueprints from the locomotive to create the tooling. And with the whole Lionel MTH split, the tooling pretty much went away. But it's a fantastic locomotive. Can't wait to get it on my layout.
Something that RJ's has that none of the other ones have is most have chrome all around the front, except this one I put all black on the front, which is different from most because it was missing them, so I decided might as well just make it look a little better. But yeah, this thing has the whole 9 yards, puffing smoke, LED lighting, all good stuff.
We've got before and after pictures of the restoration, and I mean, Sid picked it up at the store for me, but we ended up picking it up for $80, which is
that's not
quite
bad.
impressive for a used scale steam locomotive, even in its not totally functioning state. But the whistle was broken off. It was missing steps on the front of the engine, and it has a couple dings in it and whatnot. But Sid has it looking pretty much brand new, and I give my hats off to him.
Yeah, this was I actually did a second one because RJ's friend Stephen Cockrell saw it, and I did one for him, and it's amazing as well. He actually has a video up about it. But yeah, definitely this is one of my favorite upgrades because I've done it to my own, but it's cool doing it for someone else. And speaking of doing it for someone else, right here is a behemoth of an engine, probably the heaviest engine I've ever held. This is a Lionel 1999 1601 Allegheny. This is from cross-anchored railroads, and he had this engine, and like my big boy, it didn't have cruise control. The smoke unit was not very good, and some of the lighting was gone, and it was covered in dust. Oh my gosh! So I have taken it, put cruise control in it. I've put LED lighting, Rule 17 lighting, a cab light that turns off when the engine starts moving, and I put the JLC sounds from the 1650 Allegheny in it, so it sounds a lot better. And it's pretty much as good as you can get with TMCC before you go to Legacy, which currently outside here I have a diesel that I'm putting Legacy in for a customer that I found, or someone that contacted me because they saw me on PGH Train Fanatics, one of his live streams. So yeah, speaking of him, I might be upgrading his T1 that looks just like this one next to me. He has TMCC in it right now, but he wants it to sound better and run better, so might be putting Whistle Steam and Legacy in that for him.
So I think this might make a interesting segue to the Lionel 2021, or I guess next Vision line model, maybe. If we got some hints from the recent Lionel live stream broadcast that they did showing off the new GS1 features. And if you haven't checked that out, go check out that video because reading about the features in the catalog is a lot different from seeing them in action, and it's breathtaking. But sounds like that we have a wheel slip feature coming.
Here's how that all came up. So someone asked about the wheel slip feature that Legacy engines have, because with the cylinder steam, all you hear when it starts to move is a bunch of steam shooting out, which my S3 that I just got has that. And when you try to do the wheel slip, you kind of hear the wheel slip, but it's covered up by all the steam. So Dave said they're not going to have that in the GS series engines, but he hinted on the next Vision Line locomotive, and he said, and since it was about wheel slip, he said, look at our next Vision Line engine, and that's kind of a hint. And when you think of wheel slip, you think of the S2 turbine, the S1 duplex, and the T1 duplex. There's probably more, but those are the three that I think of. They just did the S1 duplex, and the only one that we haven't seen in over 2 decades is the T1 duplex. So Lionel lost that tooling years ago to MTH in a lawsuit, so maybe they're bringing it back. And the idea of the wheel slip is kind of getting me interested, because I was talking the other day. I really want the engine to sit there for a second, actually have its wheels spin, and then start moving. That'll take a lot of.
That'd be pretty cool.
That would take some
engineering for that.
Yeah, it would take some engineering and stuff to go with that, which I have ideas, but yeah, that's going to be interesting to see, because if it's a T1, I'm going to be blown away.
Sid's got ideas. By the end of the year, he'll have it installed in some locomotive after coming up with the board and how it works.
He'll be in charge of like making
wheel slips and T1 go together, so it would be realistic if the T1 did that.
Mm-hmm.
So also looking ahead at the future Lionel catalogs, I think I can probably speak for all 5 of us in this group. The promise of a Strasburg steam locomotive in a future catalog. I know I recently went to Strasbourg for probably the first time in a dozen years and got to ride behind 90. And Sam even went there as a kid, despite being from Cornland.
It was a long time ago. I was a wee little lad, but yes, I vaguely remember it. But yeah, I need to go back soon so I can.
You come out to New York,
remember
Sam. We got you.
All right, I'll let you know. But yeah,
road trip.
Road trip.
We've got
indeed.
a majority Long Island contingency in here.
Yeah, pretty much.
Sorry.
Yeah, coffee.
Yeah, but
yeah.
So I know that RJ and Matt have visited Strasbourg in the last year. So do you guys both want to talk about that?
Well, I did something.
Matt's got the more interesting story here.
I did something that I, honest to God, thought would never in my life happen to me. A few months back, when COVID first started, Strasbourg made an announcement of a lifetime, stating that for the first time in their entire history, they were going to offer in-cab throttle experiences with their entire roster of locomotives. So that included 89, 475, and number 90, as well as their Oxford and I forget that elaborate name.
Lancaster, Oxford, and Southern.
Yeah, that's
rail
it.
car.
Yeah,
Rail car.
the rail car, the electric rail car. So my mom surprised me. Originally, I wanted to do 89 because they were going to offer it on my actual birthday. But unfortunately, that since sold out. And then while I'm at work, my mom sends me a text saying, "Oh, I got you throttle time with the big one." I'm like, "Which one?" And she's like, I'm like, wait, the big one? Okay. I'm good. And so months go by, and then I'm finally there with a decent crowd watching me do this. I step into the cab, and I get to be at the actual throttle of probably one of the most well-known locomotives that are still operating in America. And it's still emotional for me to talk about, because I never thought I'd get to be at the throttle of a real steam locomotive, let alone be at Strasbourg of all places. And I'll tell you guys this, being able to move I made the thing wheel slip. Okay. I did something that I thought would never be possible. It wasn't on the video. My mom missed that part because they had me back up because when we were doing it, it was at the end of the line at
Paradise.
Paradise, yeah. So they had me meet them there. I had to back up because at the time 89 was on her way with a tourist train, so I had to back out of the siding to get ready for her to pull in so she could do the turnaround. So midway as I'm backing up underneath the bridge, they have me stop immediately, and I messed up the throttle because the throttle is very tough. I'll say this.
Yeah.
Throttle, you have to have a lot of arm strength because if you let it go, the thing wants to kick all the way back. So the thing, I accidentally mess up a little bit, and then I hear the thing. I'm like, oh, God, what did I do? It's a very expensive
You
locomotive.
broke it. You broke
Yeah,
it.
the side
was-
rods fall off.
I was terrified for a split second. I mean, wheel slips are cool, but if you're the one who causes it, like, it's not a good feeling. But it was cool at the same time because 90 never wheel slips. None of the locomotives at Strasbourg wheel slips. So I could say I did something that doesn't happen often, which is cool. But
You have some bragging rights.
I won't ramble on too much longer about it, but I will say blowing the whistle for the very first time, it was literally a dream come true. It was something that I will remember. And the coolest part is they had two other additional things that we did. My father was actually my fireman, so he got to shovel coal into the engine while I was moving down the track, and my brother got to be in what's called the jump seat, so he was an extra crewmate, so he got to just take a nice ride in the locomotive. But what a time. It was really cool. If you guys ever get the chance to do it, like whatever locomotive it might be, it's worth the money. It's something very special. So I will remember it for the rest of my life. You guys remember that song in Thomas and the Magic Railroad when they're at Strasbourg? I can't remember.
Yes.
Yeah.
How the
Yeah.
Moon feel, I think it's called.
Yeah, basically I had that acoustic song in my head when I was blowing the whistle down the track. It was a childhood dream, so it was really cool.
I unfortunately didn't do it. I didn't have the money at the time to do it, so I missed out on it. Hoping next year, if they do it again, I'll definitely do it.
Did you get to blow the whistle?
Oh, they let me go nuts. When I got to blow the whistle, the coolest thing was I got to do a whistle battle. 89 was coming down the track, and she was ready to make a roundabout. I asked the conductor, I looked at him with puppy eyes, could I please whistle salute it? So we did. We traded whistles, which was really cool. They had me go a little bit up the line, not too far because it was an active day. There were tourists going around. So I got to go right up to the first level crossing when you exit Paradise and back. I got to do that like 2 times up the line. It was really cool. They basically, the conductor and the whole crew that was there was first class. You know, they made me feel safe, and they basically showed me everything needed to operate the locomotive safely. And once they gave me all the directions, they just let me have at it.
I think it's everyone's dream to blow the whistle of a steam.
Oh yeah, I wanted to go up to the reunion of Steam last year at Strasbourg when they brought in Norfolk and Western 611 for its yearly inspection, and so it had 475, the only other active NNW steam locomotive left out there, and it was just you got to climb up into the cab, pull the cord and blow the whistle, and you walked off, and it was $5, and I'm mad I didn't take up that offer. I just had no way to.
$5. That's not bad at all.
No, and maybe it was 15, but still, I would have shoveled out $15 to pull the cord once. I just had no way of getting there. But man, standing on the platform as a train rolls out of East Strasbourg Station and first level crossing, and you hit the whistle, that was an experience for me. That was a very fond memory that I'll keep with me. But now I have the addiction of collecting the MTH Strasbourg passenger cars because I rode on it, so now I need it, and especially if Lionel comes out with a 89 or 90 in the next catalog, like people.
I'm surprised they never redid the 89. They had it once and they never did it again.
And it was conventional. It wasn't even a legacy engine. It was just conventional.
It was a little pricey for a conventional engine too.
Yeah, and now that conventional engine sells for over $2,000 on eBay.
That's from as a tech guy, I call it the Mike Reagan era. He was at Lionel. He had Train America Studios, which now is Electric Railroad. But yeah, he did a bunch of videos on YouTube, and that was one of the engines that he reviewed was number 89. But speaking of those passenger cars, I guarantee you that Lionel's going to make a set if they do
Yeah, but you know that the paint is going to match exactly right, and
Who knows? Who knows?
you hope so.
Like I was looking at the Blue Goose and the different variations of the new Northerns that
Northern,
just came out,
I
and
like the Northern Blue Goose.
yeah, the paints aren't that bad. Like even the
No.
red, it's actually red. It's not like orange or something. So
Hmm.
I think they're finally getting things right. And speaking of that, um, if they bring out a 90 or a 475, I'm going to I really wanted to bring out 475, but I'm probably going to buy one because I'll have my brass Williams J with Legacy in it, and it will match to what was at Strasbourg. Because I keep saying this on different social media pages. They No one does it glossy. The J in real life is glossy. It's not a matte finish like the MTH and Lionel J's are. So I'll have maybe for a little bit I'll have a one of a kind J.
So my question is, maybe you guys might be able to answer this. Why has it taken so long for Lionel or MTH to make anything from Strasbourg?
I think
I
I
mean,
can answer this very easily. And I've
okay,
talked with several people about this, through
like
my
like
club and the people I've met at York or just any terrain show. The reason why I think they haven't pulled the trigger to make a lot of scale Strasbourg stuff is because it's a small market.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
as popular and well known as Strasbourg is, if they release the fully scale, Legacy 90 or 475, right? You go into a hobby shop and say, I don't know, let's say you're in Texas or you're in California or something like that, and it's sitting on the shelf, and a customer looks at it and like, what railroad is that? I've never heard of that.
that makes sense.
It doesn't
Yeah.
it doesn't fit into my
Very niche.
that I'm collecting. So I think Lionel released that. If you guys remember, this past year, they just released a starter set, a Lion Chief starter set. And I think that's a test because they got
That makes sense.
they got, I really think it's a test. I firmly believe that because they got, more realistic, well, not, as close as they can to before making a scale set of passenger cars, caricatures of the Strasbourg
Yeah.
passenger car. And
Yeah.
they
That
got
was a new tooling too for
That's-
Lionel. So you know that they're at least investing in Strasbourg, and
Yeah.
not to cut you off, Matt, but they're also doing all those Strasbourg accessories. So they also have, a traditional Lionel station painted up for East Strasbourg, though it's not completely accurate. But they also new tooling for the yard tower that's there in
Yeah.
Strasbourg that they cataloged.
the other thing that they did, and I think it's an indication that I think they're gonna pull the trigger, is they got actual recordings from in the passenger cars of them, saying certain stats and facts from somebody who actually works at Strasbourg.
Yeah.
Stats and facts of the railroad and stuff like that. And they also had the ghost whistle effect put in.
Mhm.
So it makes me wonder if they were to do 90, they could do that feature in the legacy remote where you blow the whistle and it will basically replicate what you just did with the quilling feature. So that's probably the best assumption why they haven't done it yet.
And there's another little part to that, and of course that makes total sense. And the other part from the engineering standpoint is, for years they haven't had the brass hybrid idea and design. That is what allowed them to make the Mikado and then now the GS series. And then they were going to make the K2, but that got shut down because not enough orders, which I was kind of sad about that because I
I'm
like
happy
the
they-
idea of,
As a result of that, they made the scale 440, so I'm kind of happy about that.
oh yeah. But I like the look of the Baby J. But it's just the tooling. Like back in say 2010, Strasbourg was still popular, but they didn't have the money because of recession and all that. They just they don't have the money to invest in all those toolings. But now since they can take a chassis design that they may and only have to modify a little, but then focus a lot on the boiler design with brass. allows them to cut down costs and, of course, make the engines, which I think
know
they're
what?
going to make.
You know what they
very
could
soon.
also, do? Make it more profitable. Sell 90 in like different road, different paint jobs that it's had over the years. Even the Great Western paint jobs. There'd be, from the 70s, from like the 80s, whatever paint job it had in the 90s. It's had many different paint jobs over the years. So I feel if they make a model for everybody, somebody's bound to, there's a model, model for everybody.
Yeah. Like you may not want 89 in Strasbourg, but you may want it in Canadian National.
Yep.
Yeah. If they ever make a 475, run a couple with Norfolk and Western and have a couple in Strasbourg, make.
Yep.
90s had more paint scheme colors than 475. 75 came to the railroad much later, but
Right. The reason I
think
asked
it's
that.
going to happen soon.
Right. The reason I asked that is just because I thought, just Strasbourg was just so popular, and you would think that it would be a good hit. But Matt makes a good point that someone in Texas might not know what it is.
It's popular to us because we're all Northeast guys. Well, and we have that emphasis on the Northeast. So we're like, well, Strasbourg's so popular. Why don't they make a Strasbourg model?
That's a good point. I didn't think about that.
MTH never took their Decapod, gave it a Strasbourg paint job, and said, "Here, Strasbourg 90. There you go."
And what makes me mad about that is that even MTH and Lionel are both known for like their fantasy paint schemes and whatever.
Exactly.
MTH is going to use the excuse that the headlight was in the wrong place for them to not make a.
They could have just changed the headlight.
A Strasbourg locomotive.
It's not very hard.
Like I feel like I heard that once that was their excuse. I read it somewhere that the headlight was in the wrong spot.
The headlights it's a separately applied.
Yeah.
Just change it a little. Put the headlight on top.
Yeah, it's not that hard.
It's a Russian Decapod, but
Yeah.
The silver lining to all of this is because 611 was recently at Strasbourg, that put Strasbourg, I think, in a more national level of attention. Because let's be honest, 611, she's the queen of steam for a reason. Like
Lionel screwed that up.
Every railroader, every model railroader, any train enthusiast knows who the heck the queen of steam is. Everybody knows that J. It's one of the most influential silhouettes in all of steam and just in general. Like you go around I know people in the United Kingdom that have models of the 611. So it's a world famous locomotive. But the fact that she was at Strasbourg a year ago, I think gives Lionel the incentive saying, okay, we have people that buy our J all the time. Because Lionel's
it's almost like the big boy, you're gonna get one every 3 or 4 years.
Exactly. So, the fact that there
I think we're at three big boy runs from Lionel plus the LC2 version.
No.
I've lost track.
Lionel has 1, 2, 3, 4 scale big boys, 4 scale runs, and then how many line masters? It's like 1, 2, 3 now.
And then MTH had their big boy catalogs every year for like the last 7 years.
That became
I'm sorry,
big
but
boy.
MTA.
Every single.
Oh look, nothing. It's all the same.
Onto our little joke about Train World. Every single time they did the York Train World video for Mike, it would always be, and here's our big boy, and then here's our Canadian National Christmas train. It was just the same thing and over and over again. I couldn't laugh.
Look, now we have LED lights stringed on everything.
Yes.
Am I the only one that would just buy the little cheap LED lights to store and wrap them around a train? I've done that many times. I'd rather just do that than buy a train with pre-installed lights.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's where I'm cheap. I'm not going to buy
But even
lights
all over the place. But you could do that and then remove the lights when it's not Christmas time.
Exactly.
I really wonder how well the GS4 with the LED lights sold and the matching passenger cars that they did with it. Because are you going to invest $2,000 into passenger cars and a locomotive that are only relevant for, a month?
You've seen me at club with the Halloween lights and the Christmas lights on the train.
Believe it or not, RJ, I did hear a report from a few friends on the OGR forum that GS locomotive and cars did sell out entirely. There's none left.
But all
Oh
right,
my
but
God.
sold out and in like yeah, it could have sold out, but they might have only made 2,000 of them.
Yeah, so
That means
you'll find it somewhere in some hobby shop sitting on a shelf. You probably would.
that means 2,000 people really, really, really love Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like the
I mean, I love
2000 that
Christmas
buy
too.
the
Come on now.
the Christmas and Halloween themed mountains and Mikados. I get it when they do it in Lion Chief 2.0, like the new Burke. Speaking of those new Lion Chief 2.0, I can't speak. 2.0 Berkshires are like really good. I just can't get over how nice they are. The fact that they
I need to see some more pictures of the tooling that they, the way how they.
sure, like the shell is just the normal junior Burke. I'm just saying the fact that they're getting to the point where it's like MTH. The electronics are the same. I'm just looking at from that standpoint. Of course,
you're looking at the insides of the locomotives. You're looking because that's and then there's me.
I can somewhere around here. Oh, my probably the best looking train I have is my K4 Torpedo from MTH. If there's a train that I like on the outside a lot, but not so much on the inside, it's that train.
That's where my expertise is not very good when it comes to electronics.
No, not for me either.
I don't know what I'm looking at. Knowing me, I've ruined many circuit boards just by touching.
So that's why
he's laughing to himself right now because he goes like, "I can make a fortune off these idiots."
That's why I go post-war.
I got a Weaver Crusader for you that I want you to upgrade in the future.
Well, I've already done one, so I'll do another.
Sweet.
That's why I go post-war. It's so simple. And
that's where I learned it from. I went from post-war to looking at the inside of a brand new legacy engine. Speaking of how, I assume you like those engines you got from me.
Oh yeah, I have yet to take them home and run them, but they look pretty good on my dorm desk. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I'm very excited about them. The way I convinced myself to buy these was like, I'll just run them at Christmas. It's my early Christmas present / birthday present. There you go. So yeah, I'm gonna love those engines. Those will be nice to definitely run. I'm super stoked about putting the post-war Santa Fe under the tree along with my streamlined MTH Rail King Santa Fe passenger cars. I think that'll look really good.
I ran it. I ran it under my Christmas tree when I actually bought them right before Christmas, so-called restored them to just good looking and operating condition, and then ran them under the Christmas tree on Super O, which was really cool. So
you guys should see my Christmas train. So I got 2 trains that are running underneath the Christmas tree.
This year I've got
no scale.
This year I've got the 2025 on tap, but I just picked up a loop of tubular track as well. Nice. So it's going to be like a real I Love Toy Trains Lionel Christmas sort of setup.
You're going to have to make a video on that. We all got to see that.
I do the same thing. But I use Super O because I love Super O, but I can't use it on the layout because the sharp turns. And I don't want to make
I love Super O. I think Super O is some of the best looking track that's out there.
It's pretty good.
That issue with the middle rail.
That's a lie. That's a lie. You have to run it on it for like 50 years for it to do that. I think after 50 years, I'm fine that I have to change the pickup roller because it's worn out after 50 years.
Yeah.
Come on. But yeah,
I don't know. That's what our guys at club always complain about, and I'm like, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But I've done it twice, two Christmas layouts with Super O so far, and I've set up a white cloth on the floor, and it's fun because it takes me back to all the old videos of I love toy trains and all that stuff.
You know what's funny about I Love Toy Trains? My mom, I used to watch those, binge them when I was little. My mom could not stand after a while. What was the name of the guy that always sung the songs?
James Coffey.
Coffee. My parents could not stand him singing after a while. because we would just replay the movies, and my mom would be like, if I hear that guy singing Old McDonald's Has a Train one more time, through the roof.
Breaking out the wooden spoon.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that was my grandma.
That's
I
funny.
remember I watched it not too long ago. Mom's like, oh, no, not this series again. You're going to watch it. Put the volume down, please.
Who was it? What was Tom McCombs' son's name? Jeff or something?
Jeff.
Yeah,
Jeff, I think his name was.
I think the cringiest part ever was when he and his friend like pied each other. That was probably the
I remember
cringiest
that
thing ever.
He's like, how old is he now?
He's like way older than all of us. He's probably in his like 30s or something.
They have their own store.
Yeah,
in like
it's
rural Indiana.
No, I thought it was Illinois.
Illinois, Indiana.
One of the eyes.
I think it's Indiana. Don't quote me.
Oh wow, way to bash on my state, Sid.
No, because I remember.
Yeah, whatever.
It's all corn.
But let's see here. I got my phone here. Let's see where it is.
Let's see.
What is it? Oh,
I think it's Indiana.
I can just search up. Literally, the store was right next to their studios.
I'm sorry.
What state are you from?
Indiana.
You got it. It was Indiana.
It was Idaho. I was going to say Potato Land.
In Idaho, yeah. Okay.
They were right. No, yeah, it was Indiana. I got it mixed up because they always filmed a lot in Illinois, but then the town or whatever is called Michigan, and there's so much going on there. So yeah, it was Indiana, but that's actually really cool.
I would always rent those I Love Toy Train videos from the library, and then a fancy thing called Amazon Prime came out, and I would like as I'm older, like now, I would watch what's the Lionel Christmas? Yeah, the Lionel Christmas ones.
Yeah,
they did.
Mm-hmm.
Those are cool to watch if you want to get inspired on how to make your own Christmas layout. You just got to watch that for like 30 minutes.
What was that guy from years ago from the original one? Oh, there was a guy that when they showed up, he made a song for TM Books and Videos called "A Lion."
Oh yeah,
this was like back in the 80s or 90s.
The first Christmas video they made.
Yeah. It was like that was a long time ago.
I have a small tradition now. Every time before I go to York, I do watch at least one or two of those I Love Toy Train videos. It gets me excited, my favorite one that they have made. To me, I mean, you see my collection, but I will admit I do like pre-war quite a lot. And Template Legends, if you guys
that's a nice one.
That is by far. If I ever win the lottery, I want what those guys got. Honestly, that's some of the prettiest stuff you could ever see in this hobby.
Matt, I've told you my dream is if I ever win the lottery. I want to be the next Ward Kimball.
No.
with the railroad in the backyard.
I remember there were like this, well, for one, every time I go to York, I always buy something from the TM Books and Videos booth. I always buy either a video or a book they've made or something. But the two videos are the videos that like really got me into the history behind things or of the models themselves, and just history in general, was the Century video of Lionel, and like I love that one. Yeah, it's funny how I knew about World War II before like I knew how to do 1+2. It's like I watched that video and I just knew a lot about just history in general. But then there was also Lionel the movie, all the different ones. Then I think the third one was where I learned about all the different like modern era trains, like all these Hudsons behind, all the different stuff.
I got the whole DVD. I went to a train show once. And I literally dropped, I don't remember how much, it was a lot of money. It was all like volumes 1 to 12 or whatever volumes there are. I literally dropped like $30 on the whole DVD set. I'm like, I'm going to go home and just watch these.
I had 1 through 6 growing up. And I didn't even know that there was anything after 6 until I was much older. I would say
same.
Until I was like on YouTube and, I Love Toy Trains. And, part 12, Fast Track, what? Because I always part 1 was like 89 that was filmed.
Yep.
I love the old live action parts. when I was little. Hey, I know where that is. That's Strasburg.
Mhm.
I always like pointing out the live action parts.
I remember there was one scene with the J, and at the time, like I was able to comprehend, what it was. The J was going under like an overhaul,
Yeah.
so it was kind of crazy. Like, oh well, that train's not running anymore.
Mhm.
Now it is,
Uh-huh.
but
All right, I think we've had an amazing podcast episode today. Any final thoughts from any of you guys? Anything else you want to say to the crowd tonight watching or listening to the podcast?
make sure to check out everybody's social media.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have
Check out
everybody's.
This is one of the
We'll have
reasons why we do it. It's just to share everybody.
everybody's YouTube and Instagram pages. They're going to be down in the description. Check out everybody's channel. All great content, as you can tell from everything that we've talked about today. And we're definitely going to have all 5 of us on a podcast once again to talk.
Yes.
Probably watching
Yeah.
I Love Toy Trains.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good idea. I like that. But yeah, it's really just sharing everybody, meeting everybody, and getting the publicity of our hobby out to everyone.
Mhm.
Yeah, this has been a fantastic episode. So we'll go ahead and wrap things up here. Special thanks to everyone coming on tonight for the podcast episode, rearranging our busy schedules to do this together to talk about trains. Please bear with us as we do not have a consistent upload schedule yet. Things are going hectic in my college life, and I'm sure in RJ's as well. So just bear with us as we're trying to figure this thing out. And that's all I have to say. I'm sorry.
Had to get a job to pay for the trains. Throws a whole.
That's right. That's right. He's gotta pay back some of his dues.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's been a great episode. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you in the next episode.